we won't talk too much about it, but just last week, first of all, how do you reflect on after the positives of a late equaliser at Hull, not able to build on that against Huddersfield?
Yeah, it was a bit frustrating. I think we started well in the game, getting the early goal, and I think for us it's just looking at where we can improve. And I think the manager talked about it with the inconsistency that we've got at the minute in certain games, and hopefully we can try and nail that down in the coming games over this kind of fast period, really. But it was a positive for me to kind of get my first goal and then try and build on that throughout the rest of the season.
You've probably spent your whole career trying to search for consistency. I guess if you could bottle it up, you would.
Yeah.
What do City have to do to become more consistent? Because you've had standout performances this season.
Yeah, I think so. I think when you come off from a game and you're extremely frustrated that you didn't come away with a win, there's obviously reasons for that. Frustration that obviously we conceded the 3 goals that we did. The positives were we scored 2 goals, created chances, had a lot more of the ball. But I think it's just more like the players just have to just recognise in certain times of the game that game management's probably needed. Just before half time and just after half time. So we just got to stay focused throughout the whole game, including coming out from half time. And obviously, like I said, I think hopefully now we've stopped conceding goals in the late, which we were struggling with, and trying to push forward. We scored late, so that was obviously a positive for us, but just not the right result.
And I guess you're experienced enough now to get used to Christmas and having to play. But it's always such an important time, isn't it? There's going to be 9 points up for grabs before that game and after the game with Millwall on the 2nd. So the table could look very different, just over a week's time.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Championship table at the minute is crazy anyway. It always is. And it shows you put a couple of runs together. You can end up, flying up the table. And for us, we've played games week to week in the last couple of weeks, so we've got 3 games very close together, and if you can get some sort of consistency that we are talking about, I think we will pick up results and points. So it's a good time to play the 3 games, and we're looking forward to them.
And it'll be a positive if and when Andy King returns to the squad. I think Nigel Pearson targeted Boxing. Just how important a player is he, not only on the pitch but off the pitch for Bristol City this season?
Yeah, I think right at the start of the season we spoke about it, that we would have numerous players in the squad that had vast more experience than what some of the younger players have got, and hopefully that they can help both on and off the pitch. So for Kingy to get back and just be part of the squad, you talk about game management and things like that, you might need players in these 3 games because they're so thick and fast to rotate squads and give players possibility the chance to get a bit of a breather, or even just talking at half time, talking at full time. There's all kinds of scenarios. So for Kingy to be back in the group and hopefully to give the added value of his ability on the pitch as well.
And it's only really the halfway point of the season. What can City fans look forward to in the new year, do you think?
I think I think we've shown in the games that we are trying to be on the front foot. We are trying to create more chances, and I think we are in the games. It's just obviously staying in the games and coming away with the right results. So I think for us it's trying to keep the momentum that we have created at home, considering where it was, how kind of poor it was. We've kind of stopped that rot, and hopefully we can continue that. The fans have been fantastic. Hopefully we can get a bit more consistency away from home and in the performances. I think that's what we've got to all strive to do.
And I think last season was your debut at Luton. I don't think you'd played there before last season for Coventry, but it always strikes me as a kind of a traditional tough place to go. But what are you expecting from Luton, who I think are 14th in the Championship?
I think we're going to expect a difficult game. They've got good players. I think for the ground that the players haven't played there, it is a tight ground. It can be a good atmosphere to play in. As an away team as well, because if you can kind of stop them and hopefully get us on the front foot, hopefully we can make it a little bit hostile and get them a little bit frustrated. But we're expecting a difficult game, from a good Luton side, but we're going there, to try and get the 3 points for sure.
Well, I hope you have some Christmas with your family, and I look forward to watching you on Boxing Day.
Thank you very
for your
much.
time.
You too, mate. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Matty, we hear a lot about how you are a positive influence in the group, particularly for the younger players. But as an experienced player now, how is it that you do try to to give a positive influence and need players like Hannah, Eamon and Alex?
I think it's just, try and just remember why you're playing as well, that you want to try and enjoy the game, try and enjoy, playing in front of fans, because, we had a long time without them. And I think for them not to overthink things too much. The young players are going to make mistakes, and that's part and parcel of becoming a more experienced professional footballer. So I think for me, it's just trying to put an arm around them and just trying to help them through certain situations when we are backs against the wall or we are on top in the game, because it works both ways, both positive and negative for young players. So I'm just trying to do as much as I can and focus on my own performances and then try and help the team.
And the manager's just told us that he's not one for getting the players in on Christmas Day. Is that something you've had at every team? Have you ever been called in that team?
Yeah, I've had a mix. To be fair, I've been off, with the gaffer before, and I've been in with numerous other gaffers. So I think it's always nice to kind of, for me now, I've got 2 young boys, so I appreciate the day off a little bit more now. So obviously it's not a day off, sorry, we're travelling in the evening, but just to kind of just be there in the morning and not have a break away from them. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I appreciate that the gaffer's done that. But if the gaffer was to tell me to come in, I'd be here and I'd be training, and whatever he wants us to do, that's what we've got to try and focus on now. And he's given us the opportunity to be with families, and we've got to make sure that we turn up against Luton.
But that must create a good vibe around the group, that the manager is willing to treat you like adults and think that you can get your work done before it, so that you do get that family time.
Yeah, that's it. I think you're professionals, and he's putting a lot of trust in the players and giving the players accountability, and the players have to respect that and respond to that. So for me, I'll be doing all the right things that I need to do. I'll just be making sure that I stay off the puddings and not too many of them. I'll run around with the kids in the garden maybe and work it off, but I'm looking forward to Christmas Day, but then it's back to work come Christmas night, and ready to go on Boxing Day.
Yeah, you'll be spending the evening with your teammates. Has there been any sort of secret Santa or a quiz or anything organised?
No, not yet. I'm sure obviously we'll have a little catch up when we get there, probably a bit of snacks or something like that, so just to catch up on how the day's gone. But yeah, then like I said, we'll be ready to go come Boxing Day.
Brilliant, thank you very much.
No worries, mate, thank you.
Hi Matty.
How are you doing? You alright?
Yeah, good, thank you. I just wanted to ask, you mentioned earlier the game management kind of being an area that the team needs to work on. I mean, as one of the more experienced, influential players in the team, how do you try to kind of use that experience you've got to try to work on that? Are you quite vocal on the pitch?
Yeah.
Is that something you kind of speak to guys about in training? How does that kind of experience?
I mean, it's obviously, it is hard sometimes. Obviously, you are trying to focus on your own kind of performance, but I think sometimes it's just making sure that we stay mentally switched on. That when we do come out for the second half the other day, conceding that goal at that time, it just puts a dent in obviously where we were going in at 1-1. And then you've got a little bit of an uphill battle to climb then. So I think a lot of it is just making sure that you are concentrating throughout the whole game. Or it could be, in the 90th minute where we've got to get the ball forward and get it away from our goal and be higher up the pitch, which I think we have improved on. And try not to be as deep. So I think each game warrants different things, but I think we are trying to get better at certain aspects of that.
I know the squad's been talked about. You've talked a lot about in the past about how the squad is building. It's a team that is kind of improving and building for the future. Yeah. Someone that's come in, how do you kind of see that progression and that trajectory? Where do you think the team is in terms of that team building?
I think that the team's in a good place regarding the young players. So I think how many players have actually played this season is very, very good, and you've got numerous academy kind of graduates playing and starting for Bristol City in the Championship, and for the club to have that, I think it's fantastic. And I think that I don't think it's going to stop there. Riley there's been called back, and it's another possible opportunity for him in the future. And I think a lot of the other academy players now will be looking, thinking this manager can give me an opportunity if I do the right things and work hard. So I think that the mixture between experience and youth is going well. I think there's always areas for improve, both senior and young, and I think we are trying to do that. And I think in certain performances you can see that there's vast improvements from the start of the season to now. And hopefully, as was mentioned there, we've got 3 games in a week now, and you never know what can happen. The Championship's a crazy league, and if we can put a little bit of form together, you just never know.
Thank you very much.
No problem. No worries.
Hi Matty, just following on that question, we were speaking to Nigel about the likes of Alex Scott and Benarouz playing as wing backs. They were predominantly midfielders, but of course they've slotted into there. Can you remember a point in your career where perhaps you weren't playing in midfield and it was a younger point in your career you had to play somewhere that you weren't as adapted to?
Yeah, I've played in not so much in my kind of like my professional career, but when I was kind of 16, 17, my youth team first season I played as a centre back, and that was basically to try and develop a better understanding of the game to move into midfield in my second year, and I think it did that. I had appreciation for the midfielders, how I pass it to them, how I communicate to them, and then when I went back in I was then expecting that from my centre half. So there's been numerous times in midfield where I've had to play in a 6 position, an 8 position, or even in a diamond you play off to the right. And I think you just have to be ready for whatever the manager throws at you. And I think these young lads to be playing in positions that are different to them, I think they've took it in the strides, fantastically, and they don't look out of place when they're playing there. I think certainly Scotty's been, magnificent in that position. And I think he's been a kind of a talisman in kind of moving us forward, getting us higher up the pitch because of the pressing that he's done from a wing back position. Eamon had to slot in there, the other day, as a start. I think it's probably his 5th or 6th start and he's playing out of position. So I think these boys are getting experiences like, Nova, probably a young lad, will be getting, and it will help them in the long run, 100%.
So ultimately then, really, like, if you're not being played in the position that you thought you would be, it shouldn't be a case of something you bring up to the manager, because really you're just being grateful that you're being a first team player.
I think so. I mean, I think it suited Scotty being there. I think in the way that he plays, he's on the front foot. I don't think we want him to be, and it's been said in the building, we don't want him to be in a flat 5 position, because obviously then he becomes more of a right back as opposed to a right wing back, and we want him to be out higher up the pitch. But I think as a young lad you just kind of get on with it and you just kind of learn, and like I say, you are happy that you are playing the game of football. And when maybe if he's 30 playing right wing back he might say something, but certainly at the minute for him, he's doing the team a job, and that's what's the most important thing, is the team. And I'm sure that all the players here, if you were asked to play in a position and the manager said, can you do me a job, I'm sure they would do.
Now, just lastly from me, because the festive period is such a hectic schedule, there's been discussion whether there should be a break in the future in years. As a player playing so many games, a 46 game season, what's your opinion? Should there be a break, or is it tradition to play over Christmas?
I think for me, kind of watching the games when I was younger, it was always a good period for the fans as well. So I think it's not so much just about the players. I do understand that some of the games are squashed into a tight schedule, and for us, you just get on with it really, and you try and play. I think for the fans, it's a good period. They get to watch a lot of football games, not just their own teams. I think there's a lot of games on around this time. So I think that question is kind of, I'll let other people decide on that, and just enjoy the fact that fans are here. And we can play in front of them over a festive period, because like last year we weren't able to do that, and that was a shame really. So hopefully we kind of keep the fans there for the future as well.
Thanks Matty, have a good Christmas.
Thank you very much. Cheers guys, thank you.